everybody, welcome back to Life Under Deborah's Palm, where today I thought we would go through 3 of the exams. They're on paper that you can actually give to your loved ones at home, and the advantages, the disadvantages, how they score them, and what they look like. And I will link in the description box below some places you can find these. Real easy. They're all printable. You can find them all over, but I'll put some links in. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the mini cog. The mini cog is the one that shows the 3 words. They give them 3 words and then they have to repeat them, and then they ask them to draw a clock. Now some people will ask them questions in between, but actually you don't have to do that. It is scored on a 5. That's the total scoring system. You get 1 point for each word. And the clock, in this case, they give you the circle. And they'll have to put the numbers on it. They'll have to be in the right place, and then you give them a time, like 3 o'clock or 3:15 or whatever you want to give them, and they have to be able to draw that. This is like the quick and easy 3-minute thing. The only time I've really seen this given is when we had parents that were headed to assisted living, and assisted living needs to make sure that they actually have cognitive issues, because you can't go to memory care if you don't have a memory issue. So usually I've seen them use that for this particular one. I think it's very short. It has its point, and they say, some experts will say it's better than the one that I'm about to go with. And that's the mini mental state examination. This has it's scored out of 30 points, and I'm going to kind of quickly go over this. So the first 2 are they're 5 points each. The first 2 questions are a total of 10, and it is going to determine your ability to know where you are. It's called orientation. So the first one is, what's the year, season, date, day of the week, month, and where are we now? What state, what county, what town, if you're in a hospital, and what floor. And my mother was in her home when she took this. I've only seen it administered once, and it was with her. Hospital and floor didn't work. They asked, like, what room are we sitting in? Just some different things. They kind of subbed out on that. That's orientation. Do you know where you are, and do you know what time and what day it is? The next one is, I'll just read this. It says, the examiner names 3 unrelated objects clearly and slowly, then asks the patient to name all 3 of them. The patient's response is used for scoring. The examiner repeats them until the patient learns all of them if possible. Okay, and then there are detailed instructions. This is the instruction page. And the instruction page tells you do it, and you're trying to get them to understand all 3 objects, because those 3 objects, they're going to need those names. That's the recall later, that they're going to ask for your three words. And then there's this one. My mother called them out on this one. This is one of the disadvantages of this exam. It has to do with your level of education and what was your first language. And this one, you have 2 options. And this is measuring your attention and your ability to calculate. So you have 2 choices. You can either ask them to count backwards from 100 by 7s. So it would be 100, 93, 86, 79, that. Or take the word world and spell it backwards. So it would be DLORW. My mom called him out on that, because she said to him, I couldn't do that when I was well. And she was right. She really couldn't. She had some kind of injury when she was young. She almost drowned, and she lived in a tiny village in Europe, and it was the 40s. And as my uncle said, the doctor was the smartest man in town, not necessarily what we would consider a doctor. And so, you didn't really get treated. You just, yeah, okay, she lived, she's fine. But she said from that point on, she felt like she had like a learning disability. On top of that, she had lupus. Lupus causes lupus fog, and that can come into play with some of this. And there is a thing, an interpretation portion of the page where you look at it depending on education levels. It'll give you a different scoring guide. And then it's going to go back. Earlier I told you the name of 3 things. Can you name them? Then it says this: show the patient 2 simple objects such as a wristwatch and a pencil, and ask them to name them. What are they? And now I'm going to tell you, if they show them a wristwatch, clock is the wrong answer. Watch or wristwatch is the right answer. If they show them a pen and they say pencil, or a pencil and they say pen, no, it's going to be the wrong answer. This all is going into language. This starts the language portion of it. The next thing that they're going to do is they're going to ask them to repeat a phrase. The phrase is no ifs, ands, or buts. Can they repeat that back? Then they're going to give them a piece of paper and say, take the paper, I believe it's take the paper in your right hand, fold it in half, and set it on the floor. How are they comprehending? Do they understand basic instruction? Then they give them a piece of paper and it says, please read this and do what it says. And the piece of paper says, close your eyes. So they have to be able to read and comprehend and close their eyes. The next thing is make up a sentence and then write it. The sentence has to have a noun and a verb. So the dog ran is a sentence. It can be that simple, and they have to be able to write it. And the very last one is that whole copy the picture thing. And I'm going to show you this. In this case, it's 2 pentagons that are kind of intersecting, and they're going to ask them to draw that, and they're going to have all 10 angles in it. Scoring guide, and then here's the scoring, sort of, because of course doctors don't agree on all of this. The general scoring is 25 to 30 is normal. Some doctors will say you have to get like 27. 21 to 24 is mild cognitive decline, 10 to 20 is moderate, 9 and under is severe, and you can take those, like severe, you would know that anyways. I think mild will probably get through a lot of this, you know, and it's harder to detect, and we all know early detection is sometimes the key, and it's also the fight of getting someone to actually diagnose them, and perhaps a medication may help. The last one I'm going to talk about, I have never seen anyone give. I'm not sure why they don't give this one. It's called the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And I think this one's a little better than the last one, the MMSE, because it does something that one doesn't do. It deals with they call it visuospatial executive. And I'm going to see if I can show you this a little bit. So this right here, if it's focusing, maybe it's not. Maybe I do this. This right here, what it says is it has 5 letters and 5 numbers, A through E, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have to be able to connect A with 1, B with 2, C with 3, etc. But you have to be able to sort of connect the dots. So A goes to 1, and then you go 2, and then B, and then 3, and then C. So that's definitely a little more on the cognitive spectrum. And then it asks you to draw a cube. And then in the space next to it, it's the clock thing again, but you actually have to draw the clock. And the instructions say draw the clock and then put 10 past 11. And then it goes into, and this actually says exactly what it's looking for, naming. And it shows 3 animals, and they are not things we would normally own as pets here in the United States. They're not cats, dogs, and birds. They're a lion, a rhinoceros, and a camel. They have to be able to name those animals. And then the memory test, it's the same thing, only they give you 5 words. In this case, it's face, velvet, church, daisy, and red. And they go through that a couple of times, and then they go into this attention thing. They call it attention. I think it's more of a recall thing. I don't know. But it says the subject has to repeat the following numbers in order. 21854. So they have to be able to say 21854. And then they do the reverse with 3 numbers. They give them 742 and they ask them to give 247 back. Then it says you read a list of letters, and I'm not gonna read the list because there's probably 20 letters here, and every time the person giving the exam says the letter A, the patient has to tap. So it could go B, C, A, and they're expected to tap every time they hear that letter. And that is, like I said, this is all under the attention thing. And then same thing, they call it serial 7 subtraction starting at 100. So they have to go 100, 93, 86. That one, I don't know. And then language, repeat the following 2 sentences. This is kind of like the if, and buts from the mini mental state exam. This one is, I only know that John is the one to help today. The cat always hid under the couch when the dogs were in the room. They need to repeat that back. And then it says fluency, name the maximum number of words in 1 minute that begin with the letter F. I think that would put me under pressure. I'd be going, friend, from, you know, but they ask them to do that. Then there's the abstract portion where it says here, for example, sorry, I lost my place. The similarity between things. So for example, a banana and an orange are fruit. They say a train and a bicycle, which would be some kind of type of transportation. Delayed recall. Now they're back to asking for those 5 words. The 5 words were face, velvet, church, daisy, red. They want to see how many of those 5 words you can recall back. The very last thing is orientation, which is date, month, year, day, place, and city. Again, they're scored out of 30. The nice thing about this, I think, it goes through that visuospatial thing, which is, that's driving vehicles. It gives you a better idea of where they're at. They'll say this the same for both of these exams. It has to do with education. There's an education piece they feel in it. And also this says right here, it needs to be done in the patient's first language to be accurate. This Montreal thing, this is available in 35 languages. How would you use these? If you can get someone to take these before you take them to the doctor, that would be amazing. Good luck. Because you know in the earlier stages, probably not. But that's one of the ways to use these. You can download any of these, you can score them, everything is free online. But that would be one of the ways. And you know, it helps you maybe gauge what stage they're in, mild, moderate, severe. Severe you would probably know anyways. But as they change stages, you know, you could hold on to these and kind of compare them and see how their decline is progressing, unfortunately. But those are the 3. And like I said, I've never seen the Montreal one done, and in some ways it seems like it's actually a better exam. So I'm not sure about that. But I hope this helped you out. You can go check this out. And as I said, I'll leave the links below. And as always, if you got something out of this channel, please like, subscribe, share, comment. And as always, have a great day.